Welcome back to No Remorse. We get those awkward little waves. I'm usually lost, like I'm not sure the video is ending or what's going on, but it's Wednesday night. We are back here again, 8:30 Central Time every week. Appreciate everybody that joins us here. We are cranking through some deep freeze came down out of Canada. I don't know if everybody got that snowing in Florida. Got people in Georgia getting all kinds of snow. Crazy weather, but along with it came this endless head cold this winter. So again, apologies for my snuffleupagus sounding voice this week, but I'm going to push through it either way here. So, news for the week. We did pick up a couple little tidbits this week. I think we've decided amongst the three of us, we're going to try and vend this year. So we're going to hit some spring shows. We're going to hit some summer shows and some fall shows. Be looking for tips and advice from all of you guys out there too. What to buy, what to look for, what to avoid, things to bring, what not to bring. First time venture for us. So we'll be counting on all of you guys out there to give us a little bit of feedback. We'll reach out through Discord, DMs, things like that. But already got some really nice tips from people around the community. So appreciate that. But so look for us out there. If you're in the Wisconsin area and you're seeing some of these little expos pop up, we're going to try to hit some. Going to avoid the 6-7 hour drives and try to stay within 3 hours of us. But it looks like there's some options there. So news on that front. We've got more Forge Coin coming too. We've got different things popping up. We've talked a little bit about with the new monetary levels and things being hit, we can add in memberships too for the show. I don't know if that's super wanted by the crowd out there, but there are some things we could do on different tiers, which would be direct kickbacks with things like small portions of what you put in come back in Forge Coin you can collect and put towards stuff. Special videos Jamie does with her geckos when they start breeding. She has an egg too, by the way. So starting on that side, we stuck a gecko egg in the incubator for the first time.
I couldn't tell if it was viable. So
yeah, a little tough. They're so small. It's hard to see if those little buggers are viable, but we're going to give it a run anyway. And little things like that through the different tiers. So if that sounds like something people would be interested in, thumbs up on that or thumbs down, whatever. We'll put more details in the Discord and let people kind of kick around some of their own ideas for that. So I don't know, guys. Anything else really crazy happened this week? Stuff I'm forgetting? Progress on any fronts that maybe Jason, you opened up a new segment to the Asian market for us or something?
No, just froze to death. That's about it.
We added a new affiliate.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Had an excellent conversation with Rich from Capital City yesterday. One of those deals about vending where I was reaching out to him, also interested in some of his animals, but unbelievably nice guy, super open, easy to talk to. He shot his phone number over right away. He's like, just give me a call. I don't want to type all this stuff, which I understand. But ended up sitting on the phone with him for like 2 hours, man, and super productive, very nice guy. So appreciate you, Rich. And the end of that conversation, he said, you know what? I was curious about your Forge Coin too. So he threw himself in the hat for the Forge affiliates. We'll have him popping up here. But
that's awesome.
Actually, let's see who's here tonight. Let's say hi to everybody, and then we'll run that Forge affiliate stuff. Sammy, always good to see the Pink Panther out there. Appreciate you coming in, sir. And good morning to you if I missed it. It's every day to get one. Blue Zombie, we got Vance out there, the dead man. He pops in every week too. Appreciate the support, Vance. Good to see you, man. James Perry, the silent assassin in the building. Good to see you, James. Appreciate you, man. TK, one of these, brother. Hope everything's improving down there. Good to see you, Salt, and the support. We got Arvin, Game of Odds. Arvin pops in here all the time, man. It's awesome to see Arvin in here. Appreciate you. We got Craig Bashcoders starting to fire off his program this summer, and he's going to be leading a huge push to bring new people in, and I couldn't agree more. I think that's got to be one of our top priorities. Get new people in and keep them in. So Phil, Constrictly Business, starting his first YouTube live tomorrow. I believe it's 6 p.m. I could be wrong on that, but I believe it's 6 p.m. So do jump over to his YouTube channel, subscribe, and watch that show. It's going to be interesting to see that premiere from them on the YouTube side. Good to see you, Phil.
Feels like rain in here.
Uh-oh. Feels like rain. Jamie, you drop those hints all the time. I appreciate it. It's kind of comical. Don D appreciates it. I'm more than sure. I'll drop him his Purple Rain every week, man. If Don D keeps coming back, we keep playing it. So appreciate you, Don. Ancestral Royal, that is one of the sponsors over at Herp Collectors Network. Awesome people over there. Really nice stuff. Great to see them in here too. Appreciate it. We got Bald Head Balls Jeff. Thank you, sir, for coming out. Jeff is kind of newer to our channel, but I see him all over the other channels. So appreciate you coming back again, Jeff. Thanks, man. Shauna Kana, Moana, Marijuana, lifelong supporter. Appreciate you, Shauna. Thanks for coming in. We got Brave Adventures. Young guy out there. He's about to dip his toes into the ball python stuff. Sounded like he was getting interested in also being on a show, so we might see him shortly. John Mishamorphs down there in Texas. Appreciate him and the family, John and Chance. Yeah. God, I always want to say Chase.
Dipping toes isn't a thing, man.
Right? That's the thing. He dips his toes. He's diving right in. Brave out there.
Yeah.
James B. Easy. He's the back alley artist. Good to see you, man. Every week James B. is in here. Appreciate it, bro. Got Tim. He's sipping that brandy tonight. I know he is trying to fend off whatever this virus is that's kicking around our Northland, but appreciate it, Dad. Thanks for coming out. Blakers every week in here just showing support, man. Blakers is awesome. Appreciate you. Connie, it's the counterpart to Tim there, doing the same. Probably stealing half of Dad's brandy. Keep herself healthy, too. Mark Middlestead, Rat Bastards. Like to see him out there in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, Gecko Grove. He's shouting that out, too. Sweet.
That's awesome.
I appreciate Mark, man. He's always shooting messages over on Insta, too. Nice guy. Josh, having a ball. He's a multi-time guest now with us, but Josh is a kick, man. I always get laughing when that character's on. Appreciate you, Josh.
Up to his nuts in snow right now, probably.
Right, could be. Being his nuts are at his ankle. Don't. Irresistible's Nikki. Appreciate you coming out. Talk about a powerhouse support group out there, man. Nikki and Kurt and the guys from the Irresistible Circle. Just all over the place throwing love. So appreciate you guys 100%. Got Marcus and Tiffany, the Dambala gang. Appreciate you guys swinging in too, man. These guys are doing things right, coming up fast with popping onto all kinds of shows, but appreciate both of you. Jason Opelt, we have a song for you, but we found out that we got to be real careful when we put these songs in. So I'm going to have to edit yours a little bit, and we will have that up for you next show. I promise this time we got one ready for you. We got Low Life. That's Thomas out there probably driving truck somewhere, or maybe he's back from a long stint. Hopefully he's driving careful if he's on the highway. So Mitzi Ann, appreciate you. She's out here supporting everybody and always shows up. I won't even try that hard thing. I'll end up with a sprained
better
thumb.
at it, I think.
Yeah, all those concrete hands don't do that. Then we got Chris Eaton from the Fat Man Nation. We were just giving you a tough time before the show, Chris, but we'll revisit that with you personally probably, but appreciate you coming out to watch a show for sure. Anxious to be part of what you got going on over there this year. That'll be fun. We got Fred MTZ Pythons. That's one of Jay's. Yeah, there you go. Jay's favorite shirt, I hear, Fred. So he's got that on tonight. Thank you for coming out, sir. How we doing, guys? Are we getting down there? I don't keep an eye on those comments or I get lost. Oh, we got a double dipper in the house. This is our esteemed guest for the evening. We got all kinds of interesting things to ask Mike in just a few, but appreciate you double dipping and getting those comments. Thanks, Mike.
I think.
And no, not medium Mike, big Mike. Right? Oh, we got Logan in the house.
Mad if you call him medium Mike.
Yeah, I think it's a subtle mad. It's a slough mad maybe, but he's a pretty good sport. Logan, appreciate you coming out, man. One of the originators of the YouTube get-togethers for sure.
That's it.
That's it. All right, we can move on. We'll get through our other stuff, and we'll get Mike out here. We're doing real good on time this week, guys, which is nice. I feel bad sometimes with the guests sitting backstage, but you got to recognize the audience for sure. So mentioned it real briefly, but affiliates program, ForgeCoin, guys. This is something I know we talk about every week, but I really do think this is a good opportunity for us to use our audience, and I wouldn't use as maybe a bad word, but maybe emphasize to our audience the ability to reach out to these different people with stuff you earn here, whether that's, a gift or a spin to win or something you get on a raffle, however you end up with ForgeCoin. All these people here are willing to take ForgeCoin directly for their products. So that's pretty awesome. Charlie said, yeah, spend ForgeCoin on tests. Chris at BNS, whatever you want to spend it out there. Coco merch, snakes, Bone Daddy, he's going to do laser engraving stuff for his ForgeCoin. He said, yep, shoot the ForgeCoin over. We'll use it. Same with Mission Morphs in Texas. They're in the audience tonight, but they're going to put that towards shirts, snakes, whatever on their side. Angel Caro doing the 3D printing stuff out there. Hides, hooks, perches, all kinds of crazy stuff. Even custom. He'll work with you to create something custom for you. So he'll take the coin as well. And then we got some hide boxes for Jamie's geckos just recently. Getting some from Angel as well, but we got some from Jamie and Carl over at Graceful. And they were excellent hide boxes. Really well done. Appreciate that 100%. But they'll take that ForgeCoin too toward their 3D printed stuff. So, and then Rich, we picked up Rich yesterday after that phone call toward the end. He's like, hey, curious on this ForgeCoin. How does it work? I'd like to get in there. So Rich, I think he's pretty open to whatever you want to do there too. Hats, shirts, got a lot of nice merch. I mean, look at that logo. The logo's wild. So, and fantastic animals too. So let him know you want to spend some ForgeCoin over there. Tell us, we'll tell him, and we'll make that conversion for you and make it easy. So appreciate that group for sure. And then we're going to push this one to Jay because my voice is about to leave me. But it's Chris at BNS. Jay, what do you got to say about Chris?
Chris at BNS. You need Coco2go or The Chipper. That's the place to go. As John has said many times, we've tried a lot of the Coco products. By far the best from our opinion. So if you need it, that's your spot. All
right, perfect. And that gave me just enough time to run some beer over my tonsils here, clear up the throat real quick. But that puts us right into the main sponsor for the show. Charlie over at Shed Testing. We've got a ton of sheds sitting with him right now. Huge selection of stuff, but we'll let the commercial talk about that. So hop up, get a drink of water, go to the bathroom, or sit and watch a commercial. It's a good one. Maybe you'll pick something up in there you didn't know, but we'll be back with Mike in just a couple, guys, so hang tight. Get this thing over here if I can find it. There it is. Hey, we are back and we're going to bring out the guest. We have changed this up a little bit. Normally we'd come out of this, the guest would look like a deer in the headlights, but I'd rather talk about him a little bit right before he comes out, give him a chance to be ready too. So tonight we got Mike from Herp Collectors, which is now expanded to the Herp Collectors Network. Multiple different shows throughout the week, multiple different hosts, including some special stuff kind of done under a double clutch name, which is a great show too. Super informative. He gets with Matt from Ebony and Ivory and they sit and toss stuff back and forth and cover a lot of topics. So it's an awesome show and we'll hit on a lot of that tonight. But one of the OGs in how do I want to say this, professional approach to this podcasting game. A lot of people out there just kind of having fun with it, being relaxed. And Mike said, I'm going to come in and do it different. I'm going to put a professional spin on this, carry over my branding, carry over all of the stuff that goes behind what I'm trying to do, and it's worked. I mean, it's been a long time one of the better shows out there. So everybody, welcome Mike to the show, and we will add him in here. Jamie's going backstage, but Mike,
What's up? What's up? What's up?
what's up, man? Welcome to No Remorse. Appreciate you coming out to this silly little show we have every week.
I appreciate you guys having me on, man, and definitely super appreciative of the intro too. I think this might be the first time I was called OG in the reptile podcast space, so I definitely appreciate that.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like you're kind of putting yourself in that spot by not just the numbers, but like the way the show comes off. It comes off really well done, really well set up, a lot of thought behind not just how you do every show, but like a progression. And you bring in ideas that people haven't touched on. Like I loved the state series. And you were going with your state groups and you had 3 different people from that state and kind of represent that area, right? Which is a totally different look. So that being said, you're in the snakes first. What really drove you to say, hey, I'm going to start up a show and I'm going to go about it like full bore, and this is what I'm going to do. This is going to be my thing.
Yeah, it was kind of a combination of a bunch of different factors. So you probably heard me say this before, but we got into this in 2020, and so super new to the industry, super new to reptiles in general, and so we wanted to invest in some good projects. Obviously, we wanted to make a business out of the reptiles and stuff, but being new into this space, we didn't really have a name out there. And so one of the things we want to do is kind of like brainstorm ways to get our name out there. And so Gershon was like, you need to start a YouTube. And big shout out to the OG, super OG Gershon. He's like, you need to start you need to start a YouTube and get your name out there. Just start recording videos. Well, I didn't really want to like do the recording of videos and the editing and stuff because at the time I hadn't done like much social media outside of like making Facebook posts every now and then and stuff like that. So that wasn't really like my thing at the time. And so I wanted to start a podcast because I could do a live podcast. I wouldn't have to edit, and it was a way to meet new people. It was a way to get our name out there, and then most importantly, it was a way for us to like learn more because I wanted to bring on guests that had much more experience in the industry than what we had, so I could learn from them, so I could pick their brain and stuff like that. And so that's how we got into the podcasting space. Kind of batted the idea around for like 6-8 months because I did have a little bit of a I was just kind of overthinking it at the beginning. I was like, we fairly new in the reptiles. People not gonna want to come tune into our show. They're gonna be like, why is this new dude starting the podcast? This, that, and the third. And so I kind of hesitated and I didn't really know exactly how I wanted to approach it. And so just waited. But Gershon is a person that will not let you wait on YouTube. Gershon would message me at least twice a week. When you gonna start a YouTube? When you gonna start a YouTube? And then when I told him I was gonna start the show, when you gonna start the show? When you gonna start the show? And so I had already committed to this, not only to myself but to Gershon as well. And he was not gonna let me not get that show out there. And so finally set a date for the show. Gershon was my first guest. Because I wanted him to be there because he had like 2 years in the game at that point in terms of podcasting and stuff like that. So he could help me with like some of the technical stuff. He could kind of keep it going. Like I was like, bro, it might be sometimes when I'm talking or I just kind of like lose my train of thought. So I need you to jump in and help me out. So he's like, I got you. I just want you to get started. And so Gershon was the first guest, and it's been history ever since, man.
Yeah, and that's it's funny. That just get started thing is so true. Like you had mentioned earlier about doing the live, so you didn't have to do the edits. And I think a lot of people are really hesitant to because it's scary. You're going to go on live and what make a fool out of yourself. But it is so much easier. You go in and make videos and then sit and edit them. And there's we got people in the audience here that do that every week too. Props because that's a lot of work.
It is, yeah, that video side of it is brutal, and it's not just the time getting the material, it's like polishing that up and taking it to different angles and cuts and timing and getting your visuals with it. I mean, yeah, not super interested in doing that format. It works good in a lot of format, And we are seeing that, right? More people moving to the, hey, one-time shot, start to finish. This will give me my 10-minute video done. And those work really well for the most part. But it's funny you say Gershon, because we hear it all over the place, whether it's going on as a guest or starting one up themselves. So that's actually an awesome story. And the person that put the fire under our butt as well. Now, we delayed a year for some personal reasons and things that came up, but instantly the same thing. Message us every week like, hey, get off the fence, get
Yep.
on the playground and start playing, right? And so that's perfect, man. I dig that.
Yeah,
So
Gershon is definitely the YouTube Yoda.
yeah, so right out of the gate with all this nudging, did you have this structure, this really set idea of how you wanted this to come off, or did that kind of gradually build and develop as you did your first 15, 20 episodes, or how did that work and develop?
So yes and no. Some of it, like kind of coming into it, I knew what I wanted to bring to the table, but I wasn't 100% on how I was gonna go about doing some of it. And so I just started from where I was and just kind of figured some stuff out along the way. Like one of the big things too, like for me, from the beginning, I was a little worried about like production quality and stuff like that. And so I was gonna let that be kind of a hindrance to me getting started. But I got enough stuff to get started and just said I would grow over time. Like over time, I can change new things, I can tweak stuff, and that's just kind of like what we've been doing. But I always knew, like coming out the gate, that I wanted to approach it like from a very professional standpoint and like a business minded standpoint, because that approach aligns with our brand and how we want it to be perceived across the reptile community from the snake perspective too. And so I definitely wanted to come to it like with a professional tone, and so that's just what we did. And I figured some stuff out along the way, and just we tweak stuff, always try to be evolving. I don't want to get bored with it. I don't want the listeners and the viewers to get bored with it, so we do tweak stuff, but it's still kind of like enclosed within like that overall brand, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, and it's very obvious. I mean, you do the live stuff from an expo, you do every aspect of what you do with the broadcasting side is pretty well framed. I mean, you've always got the color collection in the back. You got the orange and the black going, got the hexagon or scale look kind of involved with something. Always your logo sneaking in. It's very put together and it's very purposeful. And
Okay,
that does show.
the hexagons.
What's that?
I
You noticed the hexagons. I didn't think nobody noticed it.
Yeah, it's always like
Hell
a
yeah.
scale pattern or hexagons. I mean, there's always kind of a similar feel to it. It might look slightly different, maybe on a little bit of an angle or maybe a sheen to some of them or matte finish on some, but it's always got that same aesthetic, right? And then it's noticeable. I mean, you instantly connect that to Mike, Herp
Yeah.
Collectors, right?
Yeah, I
So,
appreciate that. That's definitely intentional, and I'm glad like you connected the dots on that.
yeah, absolutely, man. And it stands out. So, if
Yeah.
that
And
was
it's
your
not
intent, it's working.
oh, the commercials too. So being totally honest, the first time I saw your show, I was busy doing something and I flipped the show on. I'm watching, and I wasn't paying a lot of attention just because of what I was doing. And one of your commercials came on, and I literally stopped and I watched it, and I'm like, "What is that? That's not what I was used to seeing on any of the podcasts or any of that." I mean, it's totally professional, looked great. So yeah, I mean, it's from point A to point B to point C. Everything kind of just follows through with high level of professionalism. It's super apparent.
I appreciate that. I wanted to make the commercials like different and fun, and it's just kind of like another creative outlet. And
Yeah,
at first, I was kind of limiting myself to like, do I just want to focus on snakes and have like snake imagery? But I kind of like took those limits off and said I want to do something different. Like I want to talk with whoever I'm doing the sponsorship video for. I want to get a feel of like what their branding is, kind of the things they want to communicate from a branding perspective. And I want to find video images that kind of like reflect kind of like that whole vibe, right? And so that's
yeah,
what I try to do. Because when you look at like some commercials, like you'll see a commercial for like deodorant. I'm just throwing stuff on the wall here, or Coke, or beer, especially like doing sports games and stuff like that. The commercial itself don't necessarily always it's not necessarily always reflective of the actual product. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's
for
more
sure.
reflective of the idea, right? And
Yep.
they want to associate this idea with this product. And so that's where I was trying to go with it.
Yeah, it worked. Definitely
Like
It
worked.
Matt,
does.
for example, like Matt they big on parties, like they big on excitement. It's just kind of a real fun loving vibe. And so if you notice in that sponsored video, like that's the theme throughout the whole video. It's just people like chilling together,
Yeah,
down to earth
chilling around a
people.
pool, having
Right.
cocktails, and
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it really caught my attention. Like I'm being dead serious. I was like, "What the heck?" And I was sitting watching. It was actually entertaining, even. So, yeah, that's pretty
yeah.
cool.
Super well done.
So glad you
Absolutely.
guys like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where does all this stem from, Mike? Like your background, are you in marketing? Are you kind of from that sector? What drove you to be so focused on having this market mindset and knowing that your branding was so critical? Like that isn't just a natural thing for most people. Did you have something in your past or some connection to that kind of stoked that side of it?
So yes and no. More so no though, as far as like my true profession, right? So I got an accounting and finance background, and so very numbers oriented, very numbers focused, data driven, and stuff like that. And so like as a profession, like I'm in that space. But what I do, like in terms of my current role, branding plays a big role in it, and so kind of have to take off like that CPA hat, that finance hat, and also think about like how you are presenting the information. And so like the branding plays a huge part in what we do. And so that's when I start like thinking more about branding and how to package information and have it visually appealing as well. Because in my role right now, it doesn't suffice to just have the numbers. Like it's got to be the numbers and it's got to be pretty, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And
Yeah.
so like that's kind of like where I start like thinking differently about that. And then also like in going through the whole branding exercise when we created our logo is like and I'm tired of saying like, but I'm trying to stop doing it here in a second. Very specific branding guidelines that align with the brand, and so I try to stick to those as much as possible.
Okay.
Absolutely. Makes sense. So you ran through a consulting group or pulled some other people in for opinions? Because like we clearly have no branding basis. We do. Well, I say that half jokingly, but we just throw spaghetti at the wall. If it sticks, we're like, okay, we're going to leave it on the wall. One of those deals. But we're not purposeful in that manner at all. Or at least I don't feel like, we could certainly improve. So this is super interesting to us because this is an avenue we lack in badly. So did you outsource this? Did you find a group to help with this, or how did that work?
Yeah, so big shout out to Chris Eaton. Few years ago, he did it was called a leveling up series, and he had like a number of people on there for the leveling up series. He had Justin, and Justin was talking about uh, facility upgrades. He had Brittany Gobble on there, and she was talking about photos and stuff like that. He had JT, and he was talking about perseverance and stuff like that. And then he also had Blake from Stewart Design, and he was talking about branding. And so that's how Blake got on my radar. And I reached out to Blake and started talking to him about where we wanted to go, because when we first came out of the gate, we were a company called THC Exotics. And THC stood for the Herp Collectors. And so it was a play, obviously, on THC. We had a super cool logo that had like snakes and like marijuana plants, and it was just fun. But at the end of the day, that branding didn't fit where we were trying to go with the company. For example,
Gotcha.
I couldn't get a shirt with that logo printed on it and let my son or my daughter wear that to school. And so we wanted to shift focus or pivot a little bit and make it more professional. And so when I went to Blake and I was talking to him about rebranding and what was important to us, and we started talking about like the name, and I was like, I want to go with the Herp Collectors. He was like, you should probably just drop the, and then we stuck with Herp Collectors, and that worked for me. and we talked about like what was important from a branding perspective, like who is the target audience, what messaging are you trying to communicate, and so we workshop through that for a few weeks actually, and then they came back with some recommendations and stuff like that, and so we just kind of like uh, solidified what it was going to be, and then we rolled with it, and they put together like branding guidelines that kind of spoke really encapsulated everything that we had already discussed and like do's and don'ts with the branding and stuff like that. Just it was a very complete package, and so that helped me, especially early on, kind of focus on the route we wanted to go. And then over time, like I said, started adding more to it, but it's all still under that branding umbrella in terms of like what we doing and whatnot.
That's
Gotcha,
awesome. That,
gotcha.
that goes back and highlights again what we say every week is what I mean. This community is full of people like that are willing to help out and share, and people that have some real talent and advice and good knowledge of their portions of it too. So that's pretty awesome.
And for me too, uh, that's why I was happy y'all picked up on the hexagons because I was wondering if people actually picked up on that. But the hexagons to me are symbolic of efficiency, harmony, strength in nature, and the hexagons also represent balance, interconnectedness, and the strength that comes with working together in an organized way. Like you see things in nature, like have like that natural hexagon, like honeycombs and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
the hexagons really mean something, and then it's kind of easy to associate it with the scalation of reptiles too. And so, definitely
Yeah.
stoked y'all picked up on that.
Yeah, that's
Pretty awesome.
badass. Sorry for the hopping up and leaving. Anybody that has a cat knows they're going to get into something as soon as you're busy doing something else. They're just that way. So I had to stop them from knocking down a bunch of glasses up on the top of something. So, anyways, apologize about that, Mike. But yes, we did pick up on it right away because it's purposeful and it's obvious, right? And Nikki, thank you. Appreciate the $5 there and the message, right? And join the double clutch. Absolutely.
Big
Good
shout out
Patreon
to Nick.
group. So it's a great segue. So you get busy with the stuff, you start growing, your show is clearly popular. You get your subscriber base, you get people that are coming on all the time, and then you want to get a little diversity, right? So can you talk a little bit about how you went into this idea of a network and why that made sense to you or maybe wouldn't make sense to somebody?
Yeah, so it's really kind of the same motivation for starting the ball python show in terms of, and it's not really a ball python show. I shouldn't pigeonhole it as that. Yeah, I mostly have ball python breeders on, but I've had other folks on too. But really kind of the same thought process in terms of expanding reach, expanding the network. It's funny because I was listening to one of Gershon's shows, like when I was on, I was listening to that a few months back, and I was actually talking about the network on that show, and that was years ago. I didn't have it fully conceptualized yet, but I was talking about the idea of what I wanted to do, and so that's always been something that's been in my back pocket in terms of something I wanted to do in terms of expanding, right? And so to me, it made sense to expand into different species and build what we've built with Clutch Conversations in that show, in those shows as well. And so it's been fun. It's definitely been a learning experience. There's a lot of different challenges that come with having like multiple shows on, and you're working with multiple people, and so you're having to like organize your time and make sure you stay organized. Because at the end of the day, I don't want I don't want it to be a situation where I've asked somebody to come on because it means a lot to me that people are even willing to do a show on our network. Like
Yeah.
that's a big deal to me, and so I don't want it to be a situation to where it adversely affects them because I'm not prepared for something. And so like managing my own time, managing my own bandwidth, definitely working through that. But it's been fun. It's been a learning experience. But really the goals are still the same. Like the Herp Collectors branding is still the same, and so that carries through those shows as well. And the goals are the same, right? New voices out there, new faces out there, building the network, having a platform for people to learn about that particular species or that group of species that they are tuning into that show to hear about.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. It makes perfect sense, right? Appreciate you, Chris. Thank you, sir. Thanks for pitching that in there. Um, can you kind of highlight for people that aren't familiar? I think I'm pretty up on which shows you have going on, but what's your schedule look like right now? Say if you were to run Monday to Monday, like when do these shows hit? Who's kind of doing the hosting? And
Oh yeah, 100%. So Mondays is Chondro Corner. Every Monday, Chondro Corner, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is two hosts for Chondro Corner that host on alternating weeks. So Jen hosts one week, Jen from Cigar City Exotics. So definitely go check out Sis there. And then Ro from Ro's Reptile. You can find him on Insta, Vibe with Ro. He hosts the other week. And so again, weekly, Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we have a similar setup for Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we got Retic Rundown, hosted by Joe, aka G.I. Joe. So Joe Hull, he hosts that show on every other Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then the off week for Retip Rundown, we've got The Moat, hosted by Jess Tapia from House of Laspood. And it's a spider focused show. Spiders
oh,
and eggs,
nice.
really. And that's
Okay.
that's pretty cool because I like spiders a lot. And I feel like they need more representation in the podcast space. I know like Tom's Big Spiders, he does a podcast. I used to listen to that a lot. I know Richard from Tarantula Collective. He either has a podcast or had a podcast or kind of sort of do it sometimes, but he's got like a big following. But aside from that, I'm not familiar with a lot of other spider podcasts, and so I felt like there was a need in that space as well. Obviously, Thursdays, Clutch Conversations, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. No shows on Fridays. And then on Saturdays, every other Saturday, we've got Double Clutch, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's with me and the homie Matt from Ebony and Ivory Reptiles. That's a topic based show. We have guests on from time to time that drop by, but it's a topic based show, and so we'll kind of collaborate, think about something that needs to be addressed. We like to talk about things that other people don't necessarily like to talk about or maybe shy away from, and so we have a lot of fun with that. Definitely love that show. And then we got the Double Clutch Patreon that's associated with that. I've been rocking with the homie Matt since almost day one, since I've been in the industry. And so it was just a natural fit. Like that's my brother. We work together well. We know how each other work and stuff like that. And so that's a lifelong friendship for me. That's gonna be a lifelong friendship for me. And so have a lot of fun doing that. And then starting this coming Wednesday, January 29th, we have a show coming on called Grow House. And Grow House is a plant focused show. And so essentially, there will be kind of like three main segments for that show. Like, there'll be a segment where they're talking about the plant industry and like whatever person that's going to be on there. It's going to be hosted by Veronica from Ivy Plants. And she also works with Palm Street too, the new a live auction app that's getting into the reptile space. But she's gonna be hosting that show, and like I said, there'll be a segment where they're talking about uh, plants and like what plants they're working with and kind of like the business side of that. But then there'll also be a segment where they're focusing on personal growth, whether that personal growth is like within the business or whether that personal growth is like legitimately something personal, or maybe a hybrid. Is kind of going to depend from guest to guest. And then there's also like a last segment where it's kind of like takeaways and advice and stuff based on like what they've gone through, both from a business and personal perspective. Super excited for that show. I'm not aware of a whole bunch of plant-based podcasts, so I feel like there's some opportunity in that space. And when I think about like the plant world and the reptile world, I kind of see like a Venn diagram where it's like these two worlds, but there's like this crossover right there, and there's this gray area. So I think this is a good opportunity to kind of widen that gray area. And then kind of with Palm Street coming on the scene, trying to get into the reptile space, I just really felt like Veronica was a great fit. On top of that, she's a great person. very charismatic, things of that nature, and so super excited about that.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that is
One
a
thing.
cool overlap. And it does lend itself, right? I mean, a lot of people that keep
Yeah.
reptiles want to keep them as naturalistic as possible. So they inevitably study plants and they study how
Yep.
different things can interact with these reptiles. How do I keep them alive in this terrarium? How do I keep that bioactivity, active and going back and forth and surviving well? So yeah, that's a great overlap. It'd be a cool show, man. Hadn't thought about having a show specifically on that, but it'd be awesome to see. Pick up a ton out of that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Appreciate that. Dad throwing money at his kids. I don't know what for. Just save it for the fishing shack, Dad. Buy
Yeah.
bait.
Buy the beer.
Buy bait. Yeah, pitch it toward beer. Appreciate it though, Dad. We got Big Mike out there too. Thanks for
Got to
coming
get
out,
a
Mike.
gecko show going.
Yeah, yep. We
So
do, and we've. Go ahead, Jay.
I was gonna say I'm gonna kind of put Mike on the spot here a little bit before get him warmed up for the hot seat and give him a chance to kind of give back on some of the insight that you gained, Mike. So I got two questions that are very related, and it's what do you think is important for a focus? And what I'd like to ask is what do you think as far as being successful for a podcast? Overall focus. So just in general, what's the most important thing if you can only pick one thing to focus on to be successful? And then the second part is the technical component. What's the most important thing to focus on?
I think the most important thing to focus on is finding your voice, and you may or may not have that coming out the gate, and being comfortable with your voice. And I'm not just simply talking about like the way your voice sounds. I know for me, like hearing myself was kind of weird at first. I don't usually hear myself the way other people hear me, but not
Right.
just how your voice sounds, but just finding your voice and finding the message that you want to communicate and being comfortable uh, with being you. And so, like, that's a big part. Like, don't try to be somebody else. Be comfortable being you because there's only one you. Like, you're always going to be the second best somebody else. But if you can be yourself and get comfortable with that and find your voice and be comfortable with it. Chris said it best, like just run that motherfucker up the flagpole and see who salute.
Yeah.
And that's 100% accurate, man. So just finding your voice, being yourself,
Yeah.
that's super important. You can work on everything else and you can outsource everything else, but you can't outsource being your unique, authentic self.
Great
Yeah,
advice.
you don't want to be second best at being you. That's for sure.
No, no.
That's a bad place to be. So I 100% feel that. I got it.
Okay, and then if you had one technical component, so I'm looking, talking audio, video, research, or data gathering, or whatever it might be, what would be the most important?
I'm a firm believer that audio is the most important thing. Reason being, like from a true podcast perspective, I don't know if I should really say true podcast perspective, but kind of how I came into the podcast game was, and this is even before I started the show, but how I came into podcasts was listening to podcasts on the audio only
Yep.
apps like Apple Podcasts and stuff like that. And so audio is super important because especially if you're doing audio only, that's going to be basically prohibitive if you don't have at least decent audio, right? People can put
Sure.
up with like video and stuff like that, but if the audio is bad, people tend to quit listening. And so I think from a technical aspect, audio is fine. I'm not saying you got to be like Joe Rogan or whoever, you know what I mean? But it's at least got to be halfway decent.
Gotcha.
Got you. Both solid points. I don't think you can go wrong in either of those aspects going by that
No.
as your basis. So makes 100% sense. Now, that is something I did want to touch on a little bit because I think a lot of the people on the YouTube side of things, when they say podcast, it's really not podcast, but you did that nice and early. You kind of branched out, did a bunch of audio only connections too when you do your live show. How many bases are you touching? How many places are you reaching out to? What does that network look like on your side?
As far as like the audio only podcast platforms,
Yeah, like it's simultaneously broadcast, is it not, to multiple platforms, or is it recorded and put out on a schedule?
it's record. So basically, the way it works in terms of like the workflow of it is the live episode obviously airs on YouTube, and then right after the live episode, or very close after the live episode, I download the MP3 file, and then I upload that to. I use Spotify for Creators. Is This is like the third name that this particular tool has had since I started. I think when I started, it was Anchor, and then it went to Spotify Podcast, and now it's Spotify for Creators. But the workflow is still the same. You upload the audio only version of it to the platform, and then it distributes it to all the other podcast platforms that you have connected via your RSS feed. And so I set up
Okay.
connectivity or connection with each of those podcast platforms at the beginning, and now it's just plug and play. I was a little bit nervous at first when I first did it because I thought I was gonna have to upload it to all these different platforms every episode, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that. But then when I figured out
Right.
how it worked, it was you set it up one time, and then from there you just upload it in that one spot, and then it gets distributed to all the other ones that you've connected
Yeah.
to. So it's a pretty straightforward process. It literally takes like 3 minutes to do.
Okay,
It takes
gotcha.
longer to actually download it probably than it actually takes to like get it uploaded and posted. And I don't do too much to it. I just download it. It's the MP3 file. I copy and paste my title and description from YouTube into the podcast platform and then just upload it.
Perfect. Keeper Kane, appreciate you, man. $5 is appreciated there. Thanks to everybody tossing that money at us. That's certainly not needed, but more than appreciated. So thank you very much.
Some
Yeah,
dollars.
we talked about it. You mention it, right? You mention it on your show. Almost every intro, you say, "Hey, check me out on these other, podcast situations." But I always assumed that was always simulcast going out, and it just recorded on their side. How do you get analytics back from that, Mike? If you don't mind me asking, like, do you go to each one to see how many times it's been listened to, or where do you see that interaction from?
So the one I pay the most attention to in terms of analytics is the Spotify one because it's like my main one. And then I also pay attention to analytics on Apple. The other ones I don't too much worry about because 99% of my spends come from Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts. And so I just
Gotcha.
look at those.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And do you feel like that's definitely worth it to somebody in your format? Kind of lends itself more to that environment than a lot of shows. A lot of times it can get kind of jumbled and they're showing snakes and things, and that doesn't convert real well to that format.
Yeah, that's
Um,
exactly where I was going to go with it. It depends on the format, right? Like if you've got like a podcast, like this podcast, for example, like this is more of a conversation. We kind of exchanging discourse back and forth and whatnot. This lends itself to that type of format, but some podcasts, to your point, don't necessarily lend themselves to that format. If you've got like a lot of things that rely on the actual video, then it
it's
doesn't
going to be
necessarily
rough. Yeah.
lend itself to an audio only. You do have an option though. You can put it on Spotify for podcasters or Spotify podcast with the video. But I chose not to do the video on mine because like I wanted to drive all my video folks to my YouTube.
To
Yeah.
YouTube.
And so
I
I
gotcha.
only put the audio out on other platforms because I don't want them to have another video option. I want if you want to watch the video, I want you to come to the YouTube because that's my primary platform. But to my point, if it relies on a lot of video, then it might not necessarily work for like all those other ones that don't have the video element. And I try to structure the show to where it lends itself well to audio only. If you notice, I don't show a bunch of snakes. Like if somebody wants to show snakes, then by all means do so. But as far as like me saying, "Hey, show this," I'm not going to say that because I know I want this to be just as engaging for the audio only folks, and it's kind of
Sure.
hard to do that if it requires video.
Absolutely. Yep.
And then also wanted it to be about the actual conversation too. I mean, it's in the name, and so I want it to be about the conversation, and it's really kind of a push for me as well, and it forces me to develop in this conversation space and become a better communicator, become a better speaker, and so it's just as much for my benefit too, selfishly, as it is for the listeners.
Well, it's working on both accounts. Um, and it's hard for us to see that growth now. I think early on when your show first started out, if we went back and we watched some of your earlier stuff, that growth was really quick. I mean, it didn't take you long to get your stride, but then a little bit into it, it feels like you were at that point, and it's really hard to pick up the little fine tuning things you do. You'll spot it here and there where you eliminated something you felt like you said too often, or pauses or common phrases that maybe got thrown out, and you're like, man, that bothers me when I listen to it back. So you can tell you're kind of making that a smoother process as it goes, but dude, doing a hell of a job of it, because it's hard to pick
Appreciate it.
up those oddities now. So bravo, man. Kudos to you on that.
I appreciate it. At the beginning of the show, I called myself out on like because I was annoying myself saying it too much. Like you just said it like 5 times, bro.
Right. And I know just in this short little conversation that's how you are. So if you listen to something back and you caught a phrase that you said too much, I know you said it like once in the next show, because you're not going to let yourself do it. Right. So kind of a perfectionist a little bit.
I would
Maybe.
say I really want to grow in this space, and I want to be the best that I can be, and so I just push myself to grow. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah. I think,
I'm my biggest critic. Probably a little bit too hard on myself sometimes about some stuff, but it's just kind of the way I am.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and let's be honest, if you're not somewhat that way, are you really ever going to progress? Probably not. No one's really going to push you like yourself, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, you kind of have to be to some degree. So, yeah, I think you talked about being your own critic, but Jamie's got a little critique for you for at least a short spell, like
Oh,
5 to 8 minutes worth or so. Are you familiar with the hot seat and how that works over here?
yeah, I've seen it before.
She she's pretty gentle for the most part. I didn't pre-read these at all, so I'm gonna probably be laughing a little bit in the background. But are both of you two ready to jump in there real quick and get that portion of this shot? All right, I think the audience is gonna have to see this too. So let's pop you over there, Mike. Good luck, sir. We'll see you on the other side of this, charred pants or not, but we'll bring you back. All right,
Let's
here we
do it.
go.
It's time to play the game. It's time to play the game. Ha ha ha. Let's go.
What's up? What's up?
How can you not laugh at that little hot seat intro, huh? Gave me time to turn my lights red.
I noticed a change in the light color.
Yep. All right, are you ready?
Let's do it.
I got 20 questions to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Here we go. Would you rather give up all expos or podcasting?
All expos.
Okay, I thought that would be harder for you. Oh, black pastel, red stripe, yellow belly clown or trick clown?
That's a hard one. I'm gonna go trick clown.
Okay. Would you rather be the funniest or the smartest person in the room?
Smartest.
Football or basketball?
Football.
Did you play football ever?
Back in the day.
Yeah. Would you rather win $1 million or earn $1 million?
$1 million is $1 million. I'd take it. It'll probably feel better earning it. But hey, if I win it, I ain't gonna turn it down.
Heck yeah. 1000%. If you could hybrid with any animal, what would you pick?
Like be half that animal. Like half
Yes.
me, half that animal.
Yep.
Ah, that's that's a good one. Uh, maybe a lion. That's a hard one. That's a real hard one. I'm gonna go with lion, just right off the top of my head.
Okay. Is there a reason why?
King of the jungle.
Yeah. All right. You got to be the king. Somebody's got to be the king. Would you rather be a movie star or a musician?
Musician.
Do you play any instruments?
No.
No, me neither. Not good at it. Morning jog or evening walk?
In this cold weather right now,
No, let's say summer. Summertime.
let's go morning jog. I like working out in the morning better.
Yeah, okay. Would you rather have a perfectly cooked steak or a plate of unlimited chicken wings with your choice of sauces?
Oh, chicken wings. Come on, let's go.
And what what's your sauce of choice?
Oh, I'm pretty plain when it comes to stuff like that. So just give me some hot sauce.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
buffalo too.
yeah.
What is your favorite midnight snack?
Uh, these days I eat these the keto peanut butter cups. Like I eat those a
Yeah,
lot. Yeah,
that's funny.
yeah, yeah. And I don't feel guilty either.
That's awesome. You don't gotta hide the wrappers. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, this is keto friendly. I can do this.
Would you rather own a self-driving car or a car with a manual transmission?
Self-driving car.
It'd be kind of weird to not have control, I guess. You know,
That's where we
what is
headed.
your what's your favorite decade of music?
90s, easy.
Yep. It's a good decade for music for sure. Time machine or a magic wand?
Magic one.
Yeah, right. How do you like to spend your free time?
Really just relaxing. I'll be doing a lot of ripping and running. So for me, like just chilling, like maybe catching a movie or something with the fam. Just
Okay.
anything that don't require ripping and running, and we can just
Right.
kind of like chill, hang out. Uh, that's priceless to me. I like just chilling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How old are your kiddos?
So my son is 18. My daughter is 16. She'll be 17 in a couple weeks.
Okay, very cool. And they both still pretty involved with you, mom and dad?
Yeah,
Yeah.
both still living at home. My son is in college, and my daughter is a junior in high school.
Okay, very cool. If you could be any animal for one day, what would you be?
I'm gonna have to go back to the lion.
Be a lion
I'm
again?
just, I'm be consistent.
You get the full, you can be the full effect and not just a hybrid.
Right, right.
If you could hang out with any cartoon character, who would you pick?
Oh man, Magneto.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's my dog.
What is something you're passionate about that not too many people know?
Ah, yoga.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would like to become passionate about yoga.
yeah, it's fun. Like it's been instances where I've like kind of gotten out of the practice and stuff, but every
Yeah,
time I pick it back up, like it's great. Like it
yeah,
helps me tremendously,
yeah,
especially given like everything else going on. It's just a time to go focus on the mat, and nothing else really matters right then but you, what you're doing, and being on the
absolutely.
mat and getting it done
Yeah,
is game changing.
yeah. The I'm sure it gives tremendous focus too.
Oh yeah,
Just
yeah.
clear your mind. Yeah,
And
I've
you don't
heard
even
good, nothing
realize,
but good.
yeah, you don't even realize like, or at least I didn't realize before I started doing it. Now I know to expect it, but since there's so much focus on breath, that helps you clear your mind, but it also helps you
Mhm.
focus on like your breath work like throughout the day, and just kind of like
Right.
keeping you calm and stuff like that. Like you just
Yeah.
feel totally energized after yoga. I was actually pretty upset this because they canceled the 6:15 yoga session this morning because of the icy roads in Florida.
Yeah.
So I was pretty bummed about that.
Oh, you could probably find something on YouTube, some quick little one.
It's nothing like that hot yoga though. Like it's like 104 degrees in there.
Oh
And
man.
yeah, if I tried to recreate that at home, I would have three
Yeah.
people upset with me and two dogs.
So this hot seat doesn't even phase you. You're not even sweating a little bit, are you? If you could go back and talk to little Mike, what would you tell him?
Like little Mike, me or my son, little Mike? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, you when you were a kiddo.
I'm kidding. I know what you meant. Just believe in yourself, right? Don't let people say stuff that you internalize and allow that to hold you back. Because usually people who got so much negative stuff, it's really something they're fighting with that they're projecting on you.
Yeah.
And so just learn to tune that shit out. It doesn't matter. Just focus on you, focus on the mission, make the main thing, and keep pushing.
Yeah. Good advice. What has been your most effective strategy for growing your YouTube channel?
Consistency. Just be consistent, right?
Yeah.
Consistency in terms of like coming on when you say you're gonna come on,
Yeah.
sticking to it. Sometimes stuff tough. I mean, I know you guys know some it's hard sometimes and like things come up and you gotta
Yeah.
be flexible, but still at the same time, you know, you're set on a specific time, you come on, and so you gotta consistently hit that so people know what to expect. So
Right.
consistency there, and then also just consistency in like what you bring into the table. Like I'm not saying every time you come you're gonna be like it's gonna be like your best game ever, but that should be the goal, right? Is to
Right.
try to be the best version of yourself and consistently work on improving all that kind of stuff. Like just be
Yeah.
consistent with it, and over
Yeah.
time you'll start seeing growth. People start picking up on things you're doing, and people notice things that you don't even notice that they notice, if that makes
Right.
sense. Like for example,
Yeah.
we were talking about the hexagons. Let's go back to that.
Yeah.
I intentionally do that, but I didn't know if like other people noticed. And so
Oh,
it's just cool to see that people notice stuff. And you never
absolutely.
know who listens to your podcast too, right? Everyone doesn't necessarily show up in the comments.
Right.
Everyone is not necessarily on the live stream, but it's people out there listening that you don't know is listening to your podcast.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So just be
Where's that magic wand?
right. So just be consistent and just keep showing up.
Very good. The last question in the hot seat is, what would you like to be known for?
I mean, it's a lot of stuff I would like to be known for. Um, but since we've primarily been talking about the podcast space, uh, I'll just answer from that perspective. And I want to be known for a lot of things in the podcast space too, but definitely being consistent, being a a leader in the space, and not to like toot my own horn. And that's why I want to be a leader, but I want to be a leader in a way that helps other people grow, because like the number one rule in leadership from my perspective is it's not about you, it's about everybody else. And so I want to be someone who is able to help other people be the best version of themselves.
That you are, my friend. You did a
I
great
appreciate it.
job in the hot seat.
I appreciate it. I love the hot seat. Turn it up
Yeah,
a little bit.
it was pretty fun.
Yeah, that was real fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you everybody that tuned in tonight, and don't forget, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Thank you.
Good
Nice
job. Good job. That was a hell of a hot seat. Well done, Mike.
That was
He's like,
fun.
turn this up, man. I'm not even sweating. I'm just chilling over here. In fact, let me get my yoga mat out. This feels good. So yeah,
Yeah, that was
bunch of stuff. Yeah, a bunch of stuff I wouldn't have guessed, but good answers. All of them good answers, man. And that's what's fun
Like-
about the hot seat, right?
The yoga thing's interesting. They let you bring beer in there?
They don't, man.
They don't?
Yeah, it's some pesky rules, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
No,
figure.
that's cool. That's cool. And the consistency thing, you brought that up a couple times. 100% agree. It's like um, if you're producing something for people, and every time they go in there, it's something completely inconsistent, completely different, and they're like, I don't really know what to even expect. I think people lose interest in that. There's a danger, right? You can be consistently boring, which is what we're always afraid of doing, and you get the same result. But no, I think the consistency thing is really a key for sure. Definitely agree with
100%,
that.
100%. And you can change things up, but just be consistently improving, in my opinion.
Yep, yep. Reliable, I think, is another way to look at it. Like you said,
Exactly.
start your show at the same time all the time. Make sure you're there every time, or communicate if there's, because we've had a couple where we just, hey, we're not going to make it, man. We got somebody that's dying of COVID over here. We got whatever, and if you communicate it out ahead of time so people know, I think that's okay. But
Yeah, I mean, life is gonna life, and so
yeah,
that's expected, especially when you're doing a weekly show.
yeah,
Like for nothing to ever come up, that means like 52 weeks have to be absolutely perfect. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And so
yeah,
something could come up. Whether that means you got to cancel, like that's a whole different thing. But you might have to be flexible and work out something and make something work. But life is gonna happen, right? It's just part of it. It's part of the game.
it is for
But if
sure.
people
Yeah,
know that they can expect you to be consistent and you're gonna communicate, because communicating is huge too. And like you said, letting people know that goes a long way as well.
Yep.
absolutely. That adaptation too. I think that's something that I've seen you do through your different series as you move along. Like when you pick up on something that you notice people are reacting to and they like, do more of that. If there's stuff that you're getting bad feedback on, don't feel bad about cutting it out or skipping it or jumping to something different. Try something different you don't know, right? Um, yeah, man, it's all great advice and coming from a good source where we know we've seen the success with it, we've seen the progression, the growth from day one to now, and that's the kind of person that I don't want to say you want to emulate, you don't want to copy, you don't want to like carbon copy anybody's idea, but you do want to use what they're telling you as good input. So appreciate that, man.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. I appreciate the feedback. And you made a great point right there. Like just not being afraid to try something new, try something different. If people like it, they're gonna roll with it. If they don't, they not. You know what I mean? But just getting out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So we haven't touched anything on the snake side of stuff.
Yeah, we haven't
Um,
talked about snakes at all, I don't think. Like
yeah, and that's been
I
kind
haven't
of different.
talked about snakes.
Right. And I kind of wanna because I feel like as much as you have your show going and stuff, I really don't have a good feel for like what you're doing on the snake side of things. And that's kind of a shame because everything I hear is, man, you got some really nice projects. You got nice animals you're producing aside from all of this podcast stuff. So can you kind of fill us in on like what your project base looks like and what your plans and stuff are for 25 with it?
Yeah, so when I talk about my projects, I typically speak in terms of recessives, but that's not to undersell the value of codoms in projects. Like I think codoms are hugely important, uh, but in terms of recessives, clown, desert ghost, hypo, pod, ultramel, and I got some genetic strike too as well. Those are the recessives that I'm working with. Oh man, my thing just went out. That's crazy. My
Yep, I see. I didn't know if you could see it or not, but it's telling you you need a battery, Mike.
Yeah, but it's plugged in, which is crazy. Like that's never happened before.
Do you want us to pause for a second?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Let me see if I can
Yeah.
something over here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like the what Mike was saying too about leadership. I think people miss that a lot. I think that the leadership thing is I got to tell people what to do, and that's the main thing is knowing what to do and telling them what to do. And really, it's not. It's,
Here we'll switch
finding
over.
pathways for people and giving them some growth, opportunity to grow and helping them along with their goals. That's a good leader. So
Right, exactly. I mean, the role of a leader is to see the group succeed, not the leader succeed. You know.
Exactly. Yep.
So yeah, it's a fantastic point. People want to be out there on point and keeping themselves like in that spot, and that's the wrong view of it.
It is.
So yeah, great point, man. Mike's got a lot of insight on this arena, especially. He's done a hell of a job. It's a respected channel. It's a respected network for good
Talking
reason.
about, yeah, for sure. Talking about the podcast portion of it, I think Chris Eaton was the first one that really brought that up with us. And I don't know about you, John, but I know we hadn't talked about it, and it really hadn't crossed my mind before that. The idea of, hey, you need to wrap the show up and get it out on podcasts, because it does work for our format. I mean, I think, like you were talking before, you get some of the really big panels. A smaller panel would probably work fine. You get some of the big panels would be tough to follow from a podcast.
With
Just
all the
audio side
voices
of it.
and not seeing who it is saying
Who
it.
it
And
is.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the ones focused on the visual aspect. Like there's a lot of focus on, hey, this is the animal, this is what it looks like, which is fantastic in this format.
Yeah.
But in audio, that's completely lost for 20 minutes at a time,
Yep. Absolutely.
So yeah, definitely goes content to content, but
Yep.
yeah, Mike's battery just went zzz. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, that's
Didn't even give a warning.
No, it didn't.
my bad. That's embarrassing because on the show we talking about podcasting and stuff like that. I have a dummy battery,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and it's plugged in, but I think it just died on me, like the actual battery pack itself.
Oh,
Sure.
Yeah, and so
like a feed through type deal.
yeah, so basically, because how the camera won't work unless the battery is in there and
In there. Yeah.
the pack is actually closed. But
Gotcha.
dummy battery, it's like the same size as the battery, but it's got like a cord plugged into it, and you can plug it into like a socket or whatever
Sure.
to have constant power to it. But the actual battery pack itself just went kaput.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, hold on then. Let us just quick convert this to audio only. And then we'll be right back with everybody. No, it's okay, man.
Yeah,
Things like that
crazy.
happen.
Like that ain't never happened, but it's just crazy.
We've had some trouble with audio and video on this show from, man, what was the last 4 weeks, it seems like, right?
Yeah, last week went okay. It's hit or miss,
Last week was
and
good, yeah.
the thing about it is like we are relatively new. We're coming up on a year now, but we're on a piece of software that not everybody's using. So when we run into an issue, I really don't know who to go, hey, this happened. I got to kind of dig through all the archives online and through tutorials and reach out to the EV Mucks themselves and go, what the heck is this? And get some feedback from customer support. But for the most part, it's gone pretty well. I think we've done pretty well with it. Things have been better than I expected. For whatever reason, people keep coming back. We got people like Mitzi and Keeper Kane and Arvin, Odds Gods. I mean, all these people come back all the time. So can't say enough how much we appreciate that, honestly. Mike, you still chilling over there? You doing battery stuff or?
I'm still here. I'm not doing battery stuff. I'm still here. I'm just gonna ride it out like this. So I would say a piece of advice I would give is have backup equipment.
Right.
Noted.
So yeah, because that sucks. Because if I don't think anyone local to me sells like that dummy battery pack, so that'll affect affect tomorrow because I gotta order it, and there's no way I can have it here by tomorrow's show. So we'll have to figure out something. But I'm gonna buy 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder how long the actual battery lasts in that. I bet it lasts for quite a while. Probably enough to do a couple shows, I would guess.
I would say probably like an hour and 40. Like you would be pushing it.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, so I didn't know, Mike. I didn't mean to completely ignore you and just talk amongst us. I thought you disconnected completely. Then I hear your voice. I'm like, oh, he's still here.
Oh, no, I'm still here. Audio only, though. That's why I told you audio is the most important part.
It is.
right?
It is.
So you're making your point, but we were kind of just getting into like what you're doing on the snake side, so we could still
Oh,
talk about that. We weren't going to look at them anyway. So what was it you had for projects, and where are you going with that?
Yeah, so those are the recessives that I'm working, and I'm doing like multi-recessive stuff with codoms in the mix. I'm taking the codoms into the project's approach because I think the codoms are really what makes stuff like really cool. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's the route that I'm going with it. Uh,
Well, that's the
I don't
direction
want
to
to
go,
just
period, really. I mean, if you try to go the other direction, man, it's gonna take you some time, you know what I mean? If you've already gotten the hets piled up. Is
yeah,
that
I
what
don't
you're saying?
yeah, like I don't want to just go like I don't want to just make a DG clown. I don't want to just make a hypo clown. Like I want
right,
DG clown, hypo clown combos. I want
Yeah.
DG hypo clown combos. And so I want to work those combos into the actual projects themselves. And so
right.
that's the route I'm going with it. Uh it might take me a little bit longer, but I'm fine with that. Like I really want to make like really cool eye catching snakes that people like messaging their friends about. It's like, wow, did you see what Mike made? Did you see what Mike made? And so that's super important to me. And so I want to take my time and make really dope combos, even if it means it takes longer. It is what.
Well, that's the funny thing everyone always says, right? Though, Mike, it's like even though it takes me longer, but if you really think about it, you're getting there quicker to that combo than somebody that went the other way. So, like,
Yeah.
if you
Right.
make a triple recessive and you try to go backwards and add in codoms,
Yeah.
good luck. I mean, now you got 4 times the amount of time to get those
R-
codoms in there.
You got to
Right.
double
Yeah,
back. And I really feel like the industry itself is going to head in that direction because, I mean, you guys know just like I do, like we had this big push for multi-recessives and everyone was like in a rush, like I gotta hit a DG clown, I gotta hit this, I gotta hit that. But the combos weren't there. And what's happened to like a DG clown, like that doesn't cost that much anywhere. Not that it's all about the cost, but like what happened is everybody rushed and kind of tried to
right.
make the same exact things, right?
Yeah.
And Antoine from High Desert Pythons, he said this like a year or two ago on a podcast. He was like, if you get in the game now to make a DG clown, you missed the train. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you got to be
Yeah,
making combos, right? And so I just think that's very important.
right.
Yeah, for sure.
Agree 100%. Blank doubles and triples, they don't do anybody any good. Says he's mysterious Mike now.
Serious, Mike.
Mysterio Magneto Mike. But I might have to mute myself. I got a cough here. Jay, go ahead.
Can we call you El Gato?
Yeah, El Gato.
Yep. No, yeah, that was the point I was trying to get at. I didn't understand which way you were going, with the codoms and the recessives, and like John was saying, putting the codoms in at the end it's a rough haul, man. It's
Yeah.
like basically like starting all over again. So, but yeah,
Like,
it's the other thing too is there's some options. We've talked about this quite a few times. I mean, you can want to get somewhere, and there's always a shortcut, and it's expensive, but you can do it. But the problem is there's not you. At least for me, if I go buy a male and a female and pair them up and go look what I made, I really didn't do anything. I spent some money, is what I did. Right, big
right.
difference in that, and you're building your project. Maybe not from scratch, but at least some of the building blocks of it. Um, might be kind of foolish to actually go right from scratch. Start with a normal, add in your codom. I mean, that's kind of
That'd be
ridiculous.
very foolish. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But
At this point, but
what I'm getting at, though, this isn't. There are people doing it, man, that are buying. They're spending $10,000-$15,000 and then making a snake and going, look what I made. Which, yeah, it's a cool snake, but you really didn't make it. It's just
right. You put a male and
ended up
female
there.
together with everything there already. Yeah, and that's the issue with kind of going your own route too. So how do you feel about that, Mike? Do you have like a pet? I don't want to say a pet quality, but like a pet project that is just like your baby and you want to see it through kind of start to finish, or is it something you'd rather keep under wraps or anything like that cooking over there?
So my hypo clown stuff is gonna be absolutely nuts.
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. I don't blame you.
It's
With the
Mysterious
collections out there. Yeah, Mysterious Mike living up
Mysterious
to it.
Mike, man. Gotta live up to the moniker now.
He's doing it El Gato style for sure. We got it.
Yeah. So what
But now,
about
go ahead, Jay.
so what I'm kind of changing modes here, I guess. Sorry, John. So what about the vending side of it? I mean, we know some of the shows you do, but do you ever do any of the smaller local shows at all, or do you just kind of stick to the bigger stuff?
As far as podcasting or vending.
No, as far as vending.
So I haven't vended a show yet. Like I haven't been to an expo and sold snakes.
Oh,
It's Southeast Reptile Expo, February 14th and 15th. I mean 15th and 16th.
okay.
Is going to be my first time actually vending.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it'll be double duty at that show because I'll be podcasting and vending.
Yep.
Nice.
So it'll be my first time. So definitely a noob in the vending space.
Okay.
Okay. How did
Didn't
you
know that.
arrange that, Mike? Are you double tabling with somebody, splitting, or
Yeah.
how's
so,
that working?
Basically, I got a podcast table, and we'll probably be like in a similar way that we were before, where it was like keys, myself, red line shipping, all that, and so that'll be the podcasting space table. And then in terms of like vending snakes, myself, Jason from Ancestral Royal Pythons, Justin from Armless Angels Pythons, and then Steven from Wettermorph Constrictors. We are vending
okay.
together, and we're gonna have an end cap. And so when I'm not able to be at the table vending because I'm podcasting, they got the snakes. They got it under control.
Nice. Okay.
Gotcha.
So, end cap is a nice way to do that. You guys got that whole thing covered.
Yeah,
Thanks, Vance.
definitely looking forward to that.
Appreciate it, Dad, man. Keeping the streak rolling tonight. Everybody's shouting out, hey, you got to get them bucks in there, but you certainly don't have to, guys. Is much appreciated. And thank you again, Kane. It's after that $5, $5. Thank you, Dylan. And yeah, keep an eye on that Chernobyl and puzzle, man. I 100% believe that Chernobyl is kind of nuts looking stuff. He had that out the other night, but I'm going to have to hit Dylan up and try to scrape one of them out of his hands somehow.
And I'm
I
a
don't
big
see
fan.
that happening.
I'm a big fan of the puzzle stuff, like huge fan of puzzle.
Okay, are you deep into that project, or
I'm not working it. I'm kind of on the sidelines with
Okay.
with puzzle, just because I don't want to. Because it takes a lot of space to work a project, and so I don't want to get too crazy with puzzle because I don't want to detract from my other projects. And I'm definitely excited about the other projects that I'm working. So I'm just kind of chill for a little while. Maybe at some point down the road, I'll get into the puzzle stuff more, like especially hypo puzzle stuff. Like I really like a lot of the hypo puzzle stuff that I've seen. I know y'all know Barry Swope. He's got some absolute insane hypo puzzle stuff, and he's been working puzzle for a minute. And then there's a lot of other people out there too that's got like really dope puzzle stuff. I know Will got like Will from RCR. He got dope puzzle stuff. It's a lot of people out there doing their thing with the puzzle gene. So definitely a big fan, but it's just not a project that I am in right now.
Gotcha. So you talk about size and concerns there. Are you kind of sitting where you want to be for numbers, and what do those numbers look like?
I could maybe get a little bit more in terms of size, but not much more. Like right now, it's about 200 animals here when you factor in breeders and hatchlings and stuff like that. And there's a few older animals that I need to sell to kind of make room for some of the up and coming holdbacks and grow ups. But size wise, I don't want to be too much bigger than where I am right now, just from a bandwidth perspective. It's not even space. I got space to get a lot bigger than what I am right now, but I don't have bandwidth to get a lot bigger than what I am right now. And so I got to prioritize and just really be really be cognizant in terms of what I'm taking on from a bandwidth perspective. Because
Yeah.
Absolutely.
animal,
People kind of neglect that side of it. Like, oh, I could throw in another 100 animals, not, and that's you're adding 20 hours a week, if not more, by adding that
exactly,
100 animals. So
exactly, and it's
yeah,
not. It wouldn't be fair to the animals for me to take on more than I can handle and handle in the way that I want to handle. Because if I took on like
Yeah.
too much more, then something's got to give. Because it's only X amount of. It's only 24 hours in a day, 7 days in
Yeah.
a week, and already kind of got a lot of different things going on. And I want to be able to do those things at the level in which I'm doing it. And so if I take on like too much more, then that's going to spread me too thin, and I don't want to
100%.
do that.
No, I hear you,
absolutely.
Mike. We see that with the hatchlings now compared to, back when we were at half the animals we're at now. When we'd sell, people would always ask, especially people buying on the pet end, is, what's the demeanor? And I'm like, it's a snake, man. but but the reality, the reality is that they were actually handled quite a bit, or enough to where they were all decent. They weren't biters, anything like that. They weren't super head shy. But now, not really the case. I mean, if people ask, I'm just honest. I'm like, well, they got a really good feeding response. Other than that, they don't get handled a ton. So
Right,
it's
right.
just
Yeah, you
fact of
can't
life.
take all those 80 babies, 80, 100 babies out and give
Yeah,
each one individual attention. You just can't at some point. So
yeah,
make sure they're healthy, make sure they're fed and kept well. But yeah, you're not gonna spend the time to acclimate that group. But
right.
Yeah,
so what
that's
does that mean for
go ahead.
you on the side of like a breeding group and clutches per year? Where does that put you? Like 20 to 30 clutches a year? Is
Yeah,
that
that's where I expect to be at for this year, like in the 20 to 30 clutch range, and that's probably round about my max because it's a lot of work, both from a husbandry perspective, and then also there's a work to actually sell those animals too, like whether that's posting them, taking them to expos and stuff like that. So I think that 20-30 range under current circumstances is about where I want to be.
gotcha? Gotcha. That's a nice comfortable number though. Nice comfortable number. So you're going all the right places. You answered everything I had on the podcast side of it. I'm more than sure we could talk forever. I'm feeling a little weird staring at the Elgato. I'm going to be honest. At this point, it's like hard talking into a black space there and just not seeing a reaction and stuff from somebody. But I do want to give you the opportunity to shout out all your stuff. Shout out anybody you'd like to thank. Just in the short term or coming up, or maybe tell people where they can see you coming up. Things like that. Give you your own little whatever chunk of time you want to say to whoever you got to say it to.
Yeah, big shout out first and foremost to my lovely wife Takar. Really appreciate everything she's done. And as you know, I start off like every show thanking her. And she does so much to hold all this together that a lot of people don't see. Like you see me on the show and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, behind the scenes, Takar is doing so much, not only with the show, but also with the animals as well. Like for example, like our whole hatchling area, like Takar takes care of all of that. Like she's got that
Oh
like
wow.
lockdown. Like she's right there with me cleaning the rodents. She's right there with me like making decisions on stuff, and she's just always holding it down and being supportive because there are situations with some people where it's not necessarily supported like that. But I know
Yeah.
that I'm very fortunate to have Takara there to support everything that we're trying to do and be just as passionate about it as I am. Like that helps so much. Like if
Yeah.
it was constantly like a argument, like a bunch of bickering and back and forth about why you doing this, that, and the third, like that would make it so hard. But it's not
Mhm.
that. It's her being there, holding us down 100%, and that's super super appreciated. That's invaluable, and so that's why I start off every show giving a big shout out to my lovely wife Takara because it means the world to me. So first and foremost, right out the gate, that's who I want to shout out. That's who I want to thank. Also want to thank everybody out there who been rocking with us like this whole time, everybody who just now starting to rock with us, and folks who will be rocking with us in the future, man. We can't do this. I mean, we can do it, but it's a lot more fun when people are listening to it and giving feedback, like people shooting DMs saying, "Hey, I love your show. I love what you're doing, this, that, and the third," like what y'all did tonight, and talking about specific things that you notice as creators. That goes a long way with us because we're creating, we're putting thought, like conscious effort into what we're doing. And so the fact that someone can acknowledge that and recognize that, that means a lot to us. I know it means a lot to me. And so super appreciative of all those folks who've reached out, who've DM'd, and just like I said, man, the folks who've been rocking with us, no matter how long they've been rocking with us, super appreciative of that. So big shout out to everybody. Big shout out to the whole Herp Collectors Network team. Super appreciative of y'all. It's no small feat. It's no small commitment to commit to doing a regular recurring podcast. It's not, and I totally understand that. And it's a different dynamic because I talk with people about like the quote unquote the leadership dynamic at work versus the leadership dynamic like with the Herp Collectors Network. And I'm still learning things too about the latter and kind of the approach and the dynamics in that space. Because at work it's a little bit different. Like I think the end goals are still the same. Like you're still working with people, you still want the best for people. You still want people to develop, and it's a team oriented culture, but it's a different dynamic simply because at work they get a paycheck every 2 weeks. This is for an opportunity to get a paycheck in the future.
Right.
And so
Right.
to have that much confidence and that much faith to sign up and say, fuck yeah, Mike, I'll do it. Like that means the world. So big shout out to everybody on the Herp Collectors Network team. Super appreciative of y'all efforts in that space. It's been a blast, man. Just really enjoying it, man. Really enjoying it a whole lot, man. Big shout out to all the sponsors who've sponsored us and rock with us. We know asking for money is an ask, right? And
It is. Yep.
and so for folks to really believe in what you're doing to the point to they're willing to invest money into it, that speaks volumes too. And so definitely that doesn't go unnoticed. It's very much appreciated and it's not taken for granted. So big shout out to all the sponsors, man.
Absolutely. I'll echo 99.9% of that. I just can't touch base with the Herp Collectors people because we don't have them. But they come to our show. So they're all here anyway. But yeah, 100% echo exactly what you just said, man. All of those points are fantastic points.
And big shout out to the Florida Gators too. Thank y'all for being y'all.
Right. And there you go. So yeah. And that kind of wraps up our show, guys. We only have one little bit of a segment. We have a trivia question. Mike, it's going to be something you talked on, whether you were on camera or off camera. Jamie put together a question for the audience because this gives them a chance to hit up that Forge coin we were talking about. Mike, can you still hear us? Oh, he can, but I'm going to have to add him in here somehow. Let's do it this way. Can he hear us now? Oh, no, he can't.
He can hear us, but we can't hear him.
We can't
he's
hear him.
answering, but we can't hear him.
That's okay. We'll have him
Just
chill down there while we do the trivia.
Hang tight, Mike.
Yeah, we'll be right with you.
I have 2 questions. Jason, pick A or B.
I'll go with B.
Okay. Question B is, what type of animal does Mike think needs more representation in this space?
Ooh.
I disagree with Mike on that, by the way.
Me too.
Yeah, it's all. Honestly, I'm super curious about it, but I don't want one. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'd love to learn about it. I just don't want to learn up close.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I like to see. Yeah, I can't say too much.
Right. Yeah. The cat. El gato. No, not the cat.
dragon.
The
we
lion.
can always go to the next question.
Oh, we got
there
it.
we go. We got a winner. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. Dylan's always going to say Burmese. He wants them highlighted everywhere. The Burm King down there. But yes, Spoods. The Spoods, for sure.
We will add you to the Forge Coin tally, and you can find that on our Discord channel. I post it right after the show here.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. If you're not in there, I don't recall. That list is getting kind of long. But if you want to join in the Discord, just holler at us, DM us. I'll shoot you over a link to jump in there. There's nothing with membership. There's nothing going on. Anybody that wants in there, just let us know and we'll pop you in there. So Spicy Mike I'm talking to here. But Collector 10 Forge Coin. And again, all those affiliates, guys, if there's anybody out there that would like to be an affiliate, it goes dollar to dollar. We reimburse you for whatever that Forge Coin value is. I know that's kind of confusing for people to hear it. Like, I have to just give up whatever the Forge Coin is, but what the fuck is a Discord, Logan? You'll have to jump in there, Logan. It's good stuff, man. It's a live server with chats and everything else. But yeah, it is a trap, actually, Josh. But it's fun in there. I mean, we sit some nights and just
it's fun.
Yeah, we just BS in there, so it's a good time. But we'll shoot you the link. I'll get over there and do that, Spicy. We'll get you hopped over. But anyone literally interested in that affiliate network, all it is to spread any interest around to a bigger group. So the way we look at it is it draws people here to watch the show. If they get Forge Coin, they can go spend it throughout the community. And the bigger that community is, everyone benefits. So anyway, that's the premise. Hopefully it goes out that way. But thank you, Mike. Herp Collectors Mike. There's so many Mikes in here, but thank you again, sir. Appreciate you coming out. Apologies for your dead battery. I know that wasn't our fault, but still kind of sucks when we lost you there. But we'll have you back another time, catch up, update, see where you're headed and new stuff you're putting out there. But couldn't have had a better guest, man. Really appreciate your time.
Awesome.
And next week we got kind of an industry legend. We got Billy from Mutation Creation coming on. And we all know Billy. He's going to have plenty to say. So it's going to be a fun one, man. Billy's a kick. Yeah. And he agreed to come on and sit down with us and just BS for an hour and a half. So tune in next week if you can. 8:30, same time, same place. Appreciate you guys. Finish out the week strong. You only got a couple days and get a weekend again. So everybody have a good finish up to the week. And thank you, everybody, for coming out and hanging out with us. So appreciate it. See you on the flip side with Billy at Mutation Creation. Peace, guys.